He makes his home in the deep woods in the African country of Bangala. He's known by many names in many countries throughout the world for his courageous exploits in the name of justice.
The sign of the ghost who walks.
Here's this man who's, big and strong and good looking and mysterious, and what woman wouldn't be attracted to that?
He fights as their heroes fought, with their fists.
He's proud. He loves what he does. He really genuinely likes it.
Well, he's different in that, he's a normal human being. I mean, he's very fallible.
All right, gentlemen, nobody... Kindly pardon my error.
Before Superman, before Batman, there was only one masked crusader who could strike fear into the hearts of evildoers.
Ah! The Phantom!
The Phantom. The ghost who walks, the man of 1,000 eyes, defying and defeating evildoers throughout the centuries. From generation to generation, from father to son, the legacy of goodness has always had but one single purpose: to stop all who would violate the law of the jungle, the law of the righteous, the law of the Phantom. The 1920s, loud, brash, with an anything-goes attitude. By the end of the decade, the roaring 20s came crashing to a resounding thud. The 30s brought a new deal, a new president, and new troubles. The country needed a lift. People tried to turn their attentions away from problems at home and find new heroes to lead them out of their humdrum lives and take them to exciting and faraway places. Lee Falk, a young artist and writer from Missouri, created a very successful and unusual comic strip called Mandrake the Magician. Mandrake used the tricks of his trade to stop gangsters. The magician crime fighter became such a success that in 1936, Falk decided he wanted to create a different kind of comic strip hero, rooted in the classical theater tradition. He wanted to write about a hero who didn't have super strength or ride around in rocket ships like Flash Gordon. Lee didn't want his hero to rely on technology and gadgets to win fans. He wanted a man whom men could identify with and women would adore. An ageless figure whose stories and adventures would always be relevant. A hero for all times, the first masked hero, the Phantom.
The first Phantom was the son of Christopher Standish, who was one time the cabin boy for Christopher Columbus, who became his own captain of a merchant ship.
There was a pirate attack on this ship in the Bay of Bengali, and they were all killed except this boy was thrown overboard wounded.
All hands on deck! Father, to port! Pirates!
As the story goes, over 400 years ago, the sole survivor of a pirate raid washed up on a remote Bangala beach.
Father. Father.
Friendly Bandar pygmies carried him past an ancient idol toward a cave carved by wind and rain of centuries. The natives nursed the young man back to health. And one day, while walking along the jungle's beach, Kit Walker, the son of the dead sea captain, discovered the body of the pirate who had killed his father.
And on that he swore the oath of the skull, which phantoms through the generations have already sworn.
I swear a sacred oath on the skull of my father's murderer to devote my life to the destruction of piracy, greed, cruelty, and injustice, and my sons and their sons shall follow me.
And so began a fateful new era, the era of the first Phantom, who would make his home with the Bandar people in the deep woods in that most mysterious and wondrous of all places, the Skull Cave.
That's the Phantom headquarters. It has a radio room, it has a chronicle room where the past 400 years of Phantoms, all their adventures are chronicled.
The Chronicle Room is a library where Phantoms throughout the centuries have kept a detailed account of their history, their families, adventures, and great enemies defeated, so that their sons and their sons could understand the sacred duty that had been passed to them.
Deep in the skull cave, there is the vaults of all of the previous Phantoms, and when each Phantom dies, he's carried back by his son and put in one of the vaults so he can lay in state with his ancestors.
In the 1941 feature film version of the Phantom, our hero is struck down by a poisonous dart. And fans saw the dramatic moment when Kit Walker's beloved father passed the ancient mantle of honor to his son shortly before he died.
As you ordered. And you solemnly swear before the tombs of your ancestors that you will carry on with a vengeance against all piracy, greed, and cruelty.
I swear it.
This ring is a symbol of the Phantom. Wear it. My son, you are now the ruler and protector of all the people in these jungles.
No one knows but the faithful Bandar tribe that the legacy of the Phantom is passed from father to son. Pirates and thugs who swear that they killed the masked crusader are always amazed and bewildered and frightened to learn.
Why, that can't be the real Phantom. I know I killed him. This is just a trick to fool the natives.
No, him Phantom. Him Phantom. Man who never dies.
There have been many pirates and many drifters and many nasties over the years who have spread this myth, the man who cannot die. They keep seeing what appears to be the same man in the Phantom uniform, but in fact it's the son who's taken over the role.
Phantom number 1, the first to swear the oath, instilled in his son a love for his country Bangala and a sense of pride in his mission to thwart piracy and greed at all costs. So when the son of the first Phantom, Phantom number 2, had a son, he was sure that the legacy to fight evil would continue. But the legacy of the Phantom almost ended, not from the dreaded pirates of the Singh Brotherhood, sworn enemies of the Phantom, but ironically, by a playwright named William Shakespeare. The third Phantom at age 12 was sent to his mother's homeland, England, to be educated. It was fascinating for a boy from the jungle. The strict education caused the boy to run away to an amazing place he'd heard of, the Globe Theater. In that time, boys played all the parts of Shakespeare's plays.
That was fine, Kit. Let's try it again.
Yes, Mr. Shakespeare.
And the news got back to the jungle. The second Phantom rushed to London to find his son in long yellow curls playing Juliet in Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Stop this nonsense. Return with me at once to the deep woods.
Sir, the boy has real talent.
No, I won't return to the jungle. I love it here.
Although young Kit loved England and the theater, destiny and loyalty and love for his father eventually drove Kit back to the jungle after his father's death. The son renewing the ancient and sacred oath, and so continued Phantom number 3, the legend of the man who never dies.
Lee Falk, the creator, was a big fan of history and often would place the Phantom in very crucial moments in history, dealing with famous real figures.
It is this fascinating myth and its connection to history and to the lives of historical figures that has endeared the Phantom to his fans. His loyalty to family and the father-son legacy has made the Phantom an enduring hero throughout the world. By creating the legend of the 21st Phantom, Lee Falk has had to reveal the intricate histories and turmoils of a great hero. But how does a hero learn and live these great values? And how does a young man learn to live up to such a great legend? By the end of the 1930s, The Phantom was read in newspapers around the world. Lee Falk's colorful tale of the Phantom attracted legions of fans. As the story goes, the first Kit Walker over 400 years ago swore a sacred oath on the skull of his father's murderer to fight piracy, greed, and injustice. And thereafter, the Phantom always named his firstborn son Kit Walker, hoping that he would learn through goodness and example to pick up the mantle of the father and become the masked crusader, the Phantom.
He's very brave and strong.
He was the successor to his great father, but he has much to learn.
Every hero bearing such an honored legacy must first learn to get along with all types of people. And so that means leaving the jungle to learn a different way of life. After all, being brought up in a jungle has its limitations, even for a hero in training. And the 21st Phantom was no different.
The Phantom traditionally goes to his mother's parents for an education. He leaves the jungle.
So in 1936, 12-year-old Kit Walker was sent to his aunt and uncle's home to be educated in the United States. By his side, his faithful Bandar companion and friend, Guran. A difficult time for the two who were raised in the freedom of the deep woods.
I want to go home. Maybe my aunt and uncle won't like me.
No, they will love you. Look, idol, a goddess.
Yes, the goddess of liberty.
The constraints of civilization caused problems for the two friends, but they slowly overcame them. As time passed, Kit Walker's agility and strength made him a great athlete. Chasing down antelope in the jungle was perfect training for organized sports. But word got back to the deep woods and Kit's father, the Phantom.
Dear son, games are good for your body, books for your mind. Neglect neither. Father.
Young Kit grew to manhood, and he faced another challenge that would alter his life forever. He first met her when she was only 8 years old, living next door to his aunt and uncle.
My name's Diana Palmer.
When she was 10, he saved her from an escaped zoo panther. How could any young girl not be impressed by such a guy?
Diana's coming. I haven't seen her for months. Diana, I've missed you.
I thought you'd be too busy to meet me.
Diana, after the rally, there's something I'd like to ask you about.
Little did he realize that in a few hours, his carefree days as a college hero would end, and he would have to summon all his virtues and assume his destiny. Guran brought tragic news. Kit's father had been mortally wounded by evil members of the ancient order of the Singh Brotherhood. This is the sorrow-filled revelation faced by generations of young men who have returned to the deep woods and to their places in history as the Phantom. Not knowing what has happened, Diana Palmer is left waiting as her love travels back to the jungle. The carefree days of young Kit Walker are over, and a new challenge awaits him as he begins to live the life of the 21st Phantom. Since the Phantom legacy was passed from father to son, there grew a great legend that for centuries, pirates of the Singh Brotherhood, sworn enemies of the Phantom, and other evildoers were fighting but one Phantom. The Bandar jungle natives, friends, and confidants to the Phantom beat out old jungle sayings warning all who would be enemies.
In order to preserve the mystique of his immortality, a lot of sayings were passed down from generation to generation.
The Phantom moves as silently as the fog.
The Phantom has the strength of 10 tigers.
When the Phantom is angry, even mighty oak trees shake.
There are nights when the Phantom leaves the jungle and enters the town as an ordinary man.
This is the only disguise the Phantom uses, and he goes by the name of Kit Walker, which stands for the ghost who walks.
Superman is Clark Kent. Clark Kent becomes Superman and goes off and helps people, but he always has Clark Kent to go back to. With the Phantom, he is always the Phantom. He uses his other personality of Mr. Walker so that he would go unnoticed.
Many people ask, could there really be a masked man who lives in a mysterious skull cave in the deep woods? Or is this a legend to scare off robbers and thugs?
The Phantom is the only character published or distributed in some form anywhere in the world who is in a uniform but has no superpowers.
And who could possibly mistake this costume crusader for anyone but the Phantom?
The Phantom has always kept the same costume. His belt has a skull on it, and his black boots also have a knife hidden in them, and he has military issue 45s.
He rarely shoots and kills anything. If possible, he frightens animals away with the guns or destroys a weapon.
Moko, shoot. No, don't kill him. Moko used thunderhead arrows, see?
Over the years, the mask became terribly important, particularly the fact that you could never see the Phantom's eyes behind the mask.
I did that because I remember being impressed by statues of Romans and Greeks, busts, where the eyes are no pupil, and it gives kind of a otherworld image. If you put pupils in, it suddenly makes them very human.
Everyone recognizes the purple costume of the Phantom, but he is also known for a special indelible mark when he's not around. A mark that can strike terror.
He has a ring on his right center finger, which has a skull on it.
He uses that only to punch out roughnecks. Roughnecks is the word that Lee invented way back in the 30s to describe hoodlums and hooligans and, people of evil intent.
His ring had an indelible jungle dye on it, and if he punched someone, an evil villain, it left a skull mark on the villain. It could never wash off. It would be there forever.
Is he dead? I don't know, but look at his face. The mark of the Phantom. I'm getting out of here.
You can scrub it and do anything you want, something like a tattoo. It'll never come off. And people say, what kind of a ring is that you can leave such a mark? And I say, I don't know, that's the Phantom's secret.
If there is a mark of evil for the bad guys, there must be a symbol or a mark for good.
On his left hand, closer to the heart, he has another ring which has the good mark of the Phantom.
He will reward you by placing this good mark on your wrist, usually the inside of the wrist, and that will protect you for the rest of your life because villains all over the world recognize that mark.
Some swear it is a good luck charm, not only for those few who have been given it, but for their family and their families. The Phantom had learned swiftness, strength, and endurance necessary for a man who must live his life as an immortal legend.
Don't worry, I got friends in these woods.
Admired for his integrity, the ghost who walks would need a little luck of his own and a lot of help from his friends to face the challenges ahead.
How did you do that? My friends, the rope people. Salami day!
The stories and the legend of the ghost who never dies help serve the Phantom as well as any hero with superpowers. To see the mark of the skull on a thug's face is to know that the Phantom is near and that great harm will come to those who do evil. But even a great hero needs help, and the Phantom is no exception. He is aided by his friend since childhood, the great and wise chief of the Bandar nation, Guran.
How did you happen to come this way?
Garand is his confidant and probably his best friend. Garand is the one who always pushed the Phantom to get married, and Garand is often more than just a friend, but he's a great advisor.
Look into the flames, kid. Look into the secrets of your heart.
In the syndicated television series Phantom 2040, Garand plays an important role reminding Kit of his legacy.
So the Phantom lives in the whispers of 23 generations, the role passed on from father to son. So the world believes there is only one, the man who cannot die.
The Phantom relied on the lightning speed of Hero, the greatest racing horse in history, given to him by a mighty sultan as a gift of thanks for saving his daughter. The Phantom was also helped by a trusty sidekick named Devil.
Good boy, Devil.
Your dog's a wolf.
I know.
Devil goes with him on many, many adventures. He even takes him on airplanes. They always say no dogs allowed, and the Phantom says in his chilling voice, he's not a dog, he's a wolf.
He can speak to these animals and understands them, and they have a really kind of savvy rapport with each other and always come to his aid.
Watch him, Devil. He moves. Eat him.
The 1940s were the time of the 21st Phantom and a time of world turmoil. Germany was invading all parts of Europe and the Scandinavian countries. The Phantom was known and loved throughout the world and read by millions of fans. The comic strip had always been popular in Norway and the other Scandinavian countries for its wholesome and non-violent portrayal of good. But the Phantom would grow from hero to national icon due to his significant involvement during the war. It was a brutal occupation, and the Norwegians felt the full force of the Nazi regime.
During the German occupation of Norway, they censored the newspapers, and they printed headlines like, Washington bombed, New York bombed, lies like that.
They even wanted to stop American comics from being read in the Norwegian newspapers.
Meanwhile, it turns out the Phantom was appearing in Norwegian every day in Norwegian newspapers.
Since the American Phantom strip was being smuggled into Norway and Scandinavia and read daily, fans knew that the United States was doing okay. Another victory for the Phantom and for a brave people being held hostage by the Nazi invaders.
That they used the word Phantom as a password for the Norwegian underground as they fought the Nazis.
The whole world had been fighting in a terrible war, and as usual, our masked hero, the Phantom, was right in the middle of it. As the old jungle saying goes,
Phantom has eyes and ears everywhere.
Captain?
We've had some trouble tonight.
So I've heard. I picked up the distress call on the radio.
Though the deep woods seemed isolated, the radio room hidden in the skull cave kept the Phantom informed of events happening throughout the world, enabling him to aid others whenever possible. In Lee Falk's strip, the Japanese had even invaded the deep woods and threatened the very existence of the Bandar tribe. By the end of World War II, the Phantom was more popular than ever, and that meant bad news for thugs like the ancient order of the Singh Brotherhood, who dabbled in almost all forms of evil. The Ghost Who Walks would have a lot more time to take them on. One of the Phantom's biggest adventures took place in the 1950s, when a uranium claim was found just outside the deep woods, and a small city named U-Town sprang up. In The Ghost Who Walks in Uranium Valley, the Phantom is able to rid the town of claim-jumping thugs and pirates. By the 1960s, the Phantom was rescuing kidnapped astronauts from the members of the ancient order of the Singh Brotherhood. Even with all his victories and close friends, the Phantom worried about an heir to his throne. Would the 21st Phantom be the last of the masked heroes to protect the deep woods? A hero can protect and serve others for just so long before he begins to recognize that something or someone is missing from his life.
I think we can go.
On an expedition to the Bengali jungle, Diana Palmer coincidentally stumbles across the path of the Phantom.
Oh, look, Byron, the Phantom!
Don't be silly.
He reminds me of someone we all know. But I just can't place him.
Unbeknownst to her, they do have a history together, and he is Kit Walker, her ex-boyfriend.
Not so fast. Why should I go with you?
Trust me, Diana.
You know my name?
Sure.
You must remember they met in Lee's original story back in 1936.
At that time, Kit left without telling Diana that he was about to become the 21st Phantom.
She is an empowered woman on her own. She's a karate expert and a world-class swimmer, and she works for the UN as a diplomat, and she fights for human rights.
Head over heels in love with Diana, the Phantom reveals his true identity and asks for her hand in marriage.
Will you marry me? What did you say?
I said yes!
The only person that sees the Phantom's face is the person that will marry him.
You waited so long. Is the idea of marriage so awful?
I was worried about you spending your life in the Skull Cave and giving up your new UN job.
I want to keep my job, dear. I know your mother and 20 generations of Phantom wives stayed in the Skull Cave, but this is 1977.
Diana, however it must be, I never want to lose you.
I'll love you forever. Let's set the date.
What nobody could predict was the international uproar that such a marriage would create. Nations debated in Parliament whether Diana should quit her job at the UN and stay home in the Skull Cave. But despite all the problems, the big day arrives for the very nervous groom. Phantom, guardian of the Eastern Dark, the best man Guran, chief of the Bandar Nation. Everyone was delighted, for at last there would be an heir to the Phantom legacy. Everyone, that is, except his future mother-in-law.
Diana's mother always had a rather dim opinion of the Phantom, because he lived in a cave, and his closest friends were these pygmies.
The Phantom once said he'd rather face a hungry tiger than ask Diana's mother for approval of the wedding.
If any man knows why these two should not be wed, let him step forward. We now pronounce you Phantom and wife.
Ironically, Lee Falk also got married in 1977 to his present wife in true Phantom fashion. Fans wondered who had the idea first, the Phantom or Mr. Falk.
By having the Phantom have this long romance with Diana and eventually marrying her, brought another beautiful aspect into the story, which really just exaggerates, but nicely so, the whole theme of the Phantom, which is enjoy your life, live it cleanly, and marry the right sort of girl.
Newspapers and magazines covered every detail of the story, and everyone knew that this was not the perfect ending of the perfect love story. It was the beginning of a great adventure. For over 400 years, the Phantom has been the sworn enemy of pirates and the nemesis of all who would do evil. 20 generations of Phantoms have preserved this legacy, none longer nor better than the 21st Phantom. He married the beautiful and adventurous Diana Palmer As the newlyweds made a new life for themselves, many fans wondered if it was realistic to expect a modern woman to try to divide her time between her home in the deep woods and her international job at the UN. Of course, the Skull Cave has many advantages that few homes can boast, including the Phantom. He trusted Diana with all the family secrets, traditions, and history that were now a part of her life. Each room in the Skull Cave is decorated with the special touches of each Phantom's family throughout the centuries.
Deeper in the Skull Cave, there is a minor treasure room which is filled with gold and jewels, and the Phantom uses this to fight against evil.
Your father called all of this his minor treasure room?
His joke, Diana.
And this, the major treasure room. So many wonders, like a museum.
Preserved here for mankind through flood, earthquake, and war.
Deeper in the Skull Cave is the major treasure room, and these are the treasures that the Phantom says that he is merely watching for history. Things like Alexander's cup, the asp that bit Cleopatra, the sword of Excalibur, the wig that was used in the original Juliet, the play Romeo and Juliet, pieces of antiquity that are priceless.
These are the treasures of time that have come to the Phantom for his good works and his kindnesses to others.
It's yours now to use against the enemy who is coming to our jungles for some mysterious reason.
These riches have also come into the care of Diana Palmer. She is faced with the daunting task of trying to preserve the noble past forged by her husband's ancestors and yet find a way to maintain her independent spirit as the wife of the Phantom.
Diana's very much a modern woman, and she has a job with the United Nations. And so quite often in that role, she travels the world and goes to many outlying parts of the world, trouble-torn nations and so on, and is able to alert the Phantom of various dramas in far-flung countries.
From the beginning in the 1930s, Lee Falk saw Diana as more than a rich, beautiful young woman. He empowered her with intelligence and athletic abilities that were unheard of in those days. No wonder Kit Walker and eventually the Phantom recognized that Diana would make the perfect partner for the perfect hero.
She's very feisty, and she wants to go out there and experience life and have adventure, and she's a thrill seeker.
I can't believe we just did that.
Neither can I.
I think Lee has been terribly clever in the way he's injected Diana into the story, running this beautiful underlying theme of the joy and the strength of having this wonderful family life.
Fans never doubted that these two were meant for each other, but there was an ever-present question, a fear for some. Will there ever be another little Kit Walker to carry on the noble legacy of justice? Is it too late for this loving couple to hear the patter of little feet around the Skull Cave? Fans waited a whole year, but in 1980, the natives beat out the happy news. It's twins. The jungle and the world celebrate. A boy and a girl for Diana and the Phantom, named Heloise and Kit.
There have been a few times in Phantom history where there have been twins and even triplets. The 16th Phantom had a son and a daughter who were twins. In fact, the daughter once took over the role of the Phantom when her brother was injured.
I can do just as good a job as my brother.
You did a great job. Thanks, sis.
Crime didn't stop just because there were children growing up in the Skull Cave. In Italy, India, Spain, and around the world, the Phantom is still winning out over evil and is so popular that the Ghost Who Walks even makes commercials in Sweden. Australia, the Phantom is so popular that celebrations are held regularly in honor of the masked crusader.
Australians are Phantom fans as much as devotees anywhere else in the world. The 1000th comic will be published next month.
So popular is the Phantom that 1991 has been named the year of the Phantom.
I think in Australia it's terribly strong that fathers encourage their sons to read the Phantom because the family unit is also terribly important. That's the strength of the Phantom.
Fans around the world admired the Phantom for his strict code of ethics, his loyalty, and unwavering sense of right. Despite the Phantom's enormous appeal overseas, his popularity in this country was waning. Some people felt the Phantom was old news. He was about to be wiped out and discontinued by some misguided newspaper editors from Boston to the Carolinas and points west. After all he'd been through, would this be the final and cruelest of all endings for the ghost who walks? For the Phantom? In the 1980s, the Phantom was in danger of being dropped by some of this country's leading newspapers. Editors familiar with superheroes with superpowers just didn't realize the appeal of the ghost who walks. Every time a newspaper tried to drop the Phantom, fans protested so vigorously that some papers not only reinstated the popular comic strip, but printed apologies to its readers. In the 1990s, the Phantom appears in more than 500 newspapers and has an international daily readership of approximately 62.5 million loyal readers. The Phantom is no longer relegated to the pages of daily comic strips. He can also be seen on television in the weekly animated series Phantom 2040.
The year is 2040, and the world hurtles towards the brink of environmental and social disaster.
He is still a man of his time, utilizing the gadgetry that is quite common for heroes living in the future.
Known by many names, the man who cannot die, the ghost who walks, the Phantom. Powered by the breathtaking technology of the future, he is the 24th Phantom in a family legacy 500 years old.
There must be a mistake. I can't be the Phantom.
There is no mistake. You are your father's son.
Rolling! Background!
52, take 4.
Action!
But sometimes it's not always prudent to get too far ahead of our Phantoms. Because Hollywood and Paramount Pictures have created a Phantom for the 90s.
It's action-adventure with a twinkle in the eye.
There's an old jungle saying, never point a gun at someone because it just might go off.
There's a new guy in the Skull Cave, and actor Billy Zane has captured the rugged athleticism of our masked hero.
He's proud. He loves what he does. He really genuinely likes it. He's got big boots to fill. Because like 20 Phantoms came before him.
We've set it way back when the original comic came out in the 1930s, which is a very rich sort of time in American history.
¿Encontrará Diana todavía atractivo al fantasma?
Well, he looks very good in his purple tights, so what woman wouldn't be attracted to that?
Hey! Not so fast, buddy boy. What is this? This isn't real money.
All right, here.
Todos los fanáticos adoran que Mr. Walker sea tan inocente y sincero como el fantasma.
These are opals. Here, take all of them. Don't worry, they're real. And I'm sure they'll secure your services for the rest of the day, so wait here, okay?
You're kidding, right?
I never kid.
El fantasma ha sido objeto de una investigación histórica para darle veracidad, y las historias han sido tan bien construidas por Lee Falk que los padres y los maestros a menudo se las enseñan a los niños.
The Phantom comic book is one of the few comic books allowed into secondary, for that matter, primary schools throughout Australia.
El fantasma ha obtenido críticas elogiosas por sus imágenes brillantes y aventuras emocionantes. y fue una de las tiras cómicas exhibidas en el Louvre. Desde la aparición del primer fantasma en 1936, la gente en todo el mundo ha buscado nuevas formas de contar la leyenda creada por Lee Falk. En periódicos, libros de dibujos animados, en películas, en series de televisión.
The Phantom is there because someone has to care.
La mercancía relacionada con la serie sigue siendo muy popular. Por más de 60 años, los fanáticos le han hecho la pregunta a Lee Falk: ¿por qué ha durado tanto tiempo el fantasma? ¿Por qué la gente lo quiere tanto?
Even though he's wearing kind of a strange costume, he's still a real man, and he fights as their heroes fought with their fists.
The international appeal of the Phantom, I put down to the fact that he is such a standout character.
I think we should stick together.
Okay.
I guess what I meant to say is I think we should stick together, but I should go first.
Fine, go ahead, it's your rescue.
Well, he's different in that, you know, he's a normal human being. If he gets shot by a gun, he dies. He's not indestructible, he's very fallible.
Aunque los piratas fueron sus primeros enemigos jurados, este héroe ha luchado en muchos países contra el mal en sus distintas formas, siempre para preservar la dignidad y las vidas de otros. Él continuará su lucha contra la injusticia donde quiera que se encuentre.
Sound the drums and tell all the jungle tribes the Phantom is still a man who never dies.
Porque el fantasma, el duende que camina, está vivo.